Hello, and welcome to my software review of the website LearningA-Z.com. This website has many features and many product sites within this site. As you can see, reading A to Z, Raz-Kids, vocabulary A to Z, writing A to Z, science, and Head Sprout. There is the option for a 14-day trial. So if you're interested in what you see after you watch my software review, feel free to sign up. I certainly recommend using this website in your literacy classroom. The two features of this website that I'm going to review today are Reading A to Z and Raz-Kids. We're going to go to Reading A to Z first. I am already logged in. My district did buy licenses for the teachers in our building. Each license comes with 36 student licenses. So what our district does is actually every teacher license, there's 2 teachers and then 2 classes on it, since you can have 36 student licenses within it. Reading A to Z is a website that is for teachers to print out printable books that can be used in guided reading, independent reading. They can be sent home for skill practice. And the stories range in levels as well as genres. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up to here to resources and we're going to click on level books. As you can see, the website suggests that you use these level books for guided reading. So as you can see, once I get to this level books section of the Reading A to Z website, you'll see various levels across from AA all the way through Z. So if I want to click here on R, you'll notice I hover over the R that this suggests level R is for ages 8 to 9, grade 3, Fontes and Pinnell level N, reading recovery 30, DRA 30, and Lexile 651 to 730. As you can see, the level R here is obviously not a level R in some other reading assessments like Fontes and Pinnell, which is what my district uses. So it does take some time to get used to finding what Fontes and Pinnell level would be the Reading A to Z level. So that's definitely something that you want to instruct your students on if you were to be using this software. So I'm going to look here at level R and I'm going to scroll down, and it says it's showing 50 of 1,200 books at a level R. So these usually are just either the newest or the most popular books. So if I scroll down here, I can see there's a variety of books for me to choose from to print out for my students that are at a level R or Fontes and Pinnell level N to use in a guided reading group. So say if I go up here and I want to learn all about kites. This is a nonfiction book. The feature is once you click on an actual title, I can scroll down and I can kind of take a browse to the book and see what features and what the book is going to cover. And if I like what I see, I have a choice to print it out single-sided or double-sided. If I click on single-sided here, it opens it up as a PDF. And again, sometimes it takes a short time to load, but once it opens up, you'll see then what it would look like if you were to print it out and use for your students. So again, you can print it out in color. The pictures are great and relate exactly to what the story is about. There usually are many captions for the pictures as well as some diagrams, as you can see here. This is a step-by-step guide. And there's always a glossary at the end of the book. So if you notice, the vocab words that are in the glossary here are bolded throughout the book so that students can then go to the glossary and find what the word means. So again, this website, Reading A to Z, is for printable books that can be used in the classroom. In addition to just printing out the book, there are some resources. You can see that there is a lesson, a guided reading lesson. I do not use these lessons to a T, but I usually do read over the lesson to see what the website would suggest that you use the book for, what targeted reading strategy and what objectives that they have here in this lesson. And then usually I just page through the lesson and again see what Reading A to Z suggests you use the book for. It gives before reading, during reading, and then after reading. And it also has a skill builder that usually covers something with grammar as well as some sort of word work, as well as an extension. And you'll see anything in green is also provided for you here on the website. So you have various worksheets you can print out. If I want to look at the reading strategy, ask and answer questions to understand nonfiction text, I can open up the worksheet and see if the worksheet provided will go along with my guided reading lesson that then I could then use as part of my guided reading lesson. So here is a KWL chart for students to fill out before, during, and after reading, to monitoring what they have in their schema about kites and what they want to know, and then jot down some things that they find out after they read. In addition to the various worksheets they have here that are always helpful to use, the website also gives discussion cards, 6 cards that can be used in your guided reading for every book. So I found these cards especially helpful. The questions sometimes are not the highest level deep thinking questions, but I find that using these cards, especially in the beginning of the year, when my students aren't fully comfortable with running their own guided reading discussions, or even practicing just how to have a discussion, back and forth conversation with a partner with your group, these discussion cards are great for promoting discussion within your guided reading group. You'll see there's a question or two on every card, and then at the bottom it also tells what reading skill is needed in order to answer that question. So you can kind of monitor what skill you're giving to each student, so you can make sure that each student is able to answer the question. And then what I found is once one student reads the question and answers the question, then a discussion can begin based on that student's response. So again, there's 6 questions. I usually print them out, cut them out, and then laminate them. Finally, in addition to the discussion cards, each book also comes with a comprehension quiz. So again, some of the questions are not super high level, but again, this comprehension check will be a great way just to monitor that students are following along with what they're reading and fully comprehending all of the main skills that you're hoping for them to know throughout the book. As you can also see, there's 2 extended responses that come with each book that can help students practice their response skills, writing response to a short prompt. And then there's an answer key to go along with each section. We go back to the original Level R page. One feature I really liked about reading A to Z and when choosing books is that one is a multi-level book. You'll see in orange there's various multi-level books at this level. What multi-level means is that at other levels, which it also says K and N, that this book, all about kites, can also be found at level K and N. Certainly the text complexity is different at each level, but this makes it easier when planning guided reading lessons. If you can find a multi-level book, then you can choose a book at various levels that you won't have to, instead of reading 3 books, you'll only need to read 1 book as a teacher and then deliver your guided reading instructions. So that's one feature I really liked. Another feature I also liked is as I hover over the title of a book, I can get a short summary. I can also see how many words are there. I can see if it's informational or if nonfiction or if it's fiction. And I can also see if it's available in any other languages. So I have a very high ESL population in my school, so it's nice to see that this is also available in Spanish should you need to have it available in a different language. Again, one feature to note is that if I want to be looking at multiple levels, say I want to look at books at a U, I would need to unclick the R. So I'm only focusing on books at a U. Or if you want to look at books at a T and a U, then you can click on both, but just know that then you're looking at T and level U books all at once. In addition, I have not used many of these other book resources to the left over here, simply because last year I was teaching 4th grade, this year I teach 5th grade, so I don't need to use decodable books or high frequency word books as much as maybe a kindergarten teacher would need. But if we want to look at a high frequency word book, again, very similar features as the level books. I can see that here I have a nice book that would be great for the preschool age or kindergarten, or even struggling readers in 1st or 2nd grade. So again, there's plenty of resources to look through on this website, and again, all these resources are at your fingertips if you have a license to this website. Like I said, I found the level books to be the most helpful for me in my classroom just because of the age of the students I'm working with, but I know that various teachers in our school use a lot of different resources on this website for different uses. So once the teacher uses the Reading A to Z, like I said, Reading A to Z is mostly used to engage students in guided reading in your classroom, or to build students' confidence during independent reading. I can also go to Raz-Kids. And Raz-Kids is another feature of this Learning A to Z website, and you can get your license to come for both Reading A to Z and Raz-Kids. Raz-Kids is mostly for students, but the feature I like for teachers is I can see a classroom report over here. So I just have 2 students. You can see just 2 students right now that I can look at in my classroom. I, as a teacher, have the choice to put them on their certain level. So I've assigned Kate to be at a level Q and Will to be at a level W. I can see how many times they've logged in within the past 7 days. I could also change the date to the last 30 days, 90 days, or last year. I can see this year on the book tells me how many books they've listened to. I can see how many books they've read, how many quizzes they've taken, how many recordings they've made, and how many stars they've earned. And I'll explain each of these features as I sign in as one of my students in one moment. You'll see that they can earn stars, very similar to earning a sticker. There's a little incentive to earning a star, and then as you earn a certain amount of stars, you can buy a certain amount of decorations for your little rocket, which again, the students even as high as 4th and 5th grade still like to have that little incentive. So the nice thing about having this classroom report is if I'm not able to meet with each student as they're on the Raz-Kids website, that I can then sign into my account and see where my students are and how they're doing on Raz-Kids. And I can see, and again, if I see, say that they did one quiz and I can see their score was a 5 out of 10, I could then require that student to go back and read the book and retake the quiz, and then sign in again and see their new score. So again, I can also see my student's assignment process. So it looks like right now Will is 2% into a book. He's 2% through this one assignment. So in order to get to the next level, he needs to be at 100%. So he's at a W right now. If I want him to advance to that next letter, he needs to complete 45 books. He needs to read 45 books. So as you can see, he's about 2% on his way to reaching his goal. So again, this is very nice for me to see that as my students are working during their independent reading time or in our intervention and extension block, this is a great website that I send my students to. Not only just the struggling readers, but so I can make sure that students are reading and practicing the skills that I'm teaching them in class. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to log out as myself, and I'm going to log in. As you can see, each of those would be one of your seats. There's 36 seats in the class. As of right now, just for today, I only have 2 students signed in just for our viewing today. I'm going to sign in as Will today. And you can see this is what it would look like when the students sign in. So again, he can see his own progress, that he is 2% the way. He has 44 tasks left to get to a level X. You can see he has 20 stars. And I can see that here would be his assignment of his tasks at a W. You can also look in the book room, and here are the 2 incentive fun activities that I was saying previously that the students can use their stars for. We'll explore those in 1 minute. The first thing I want to explore is your assignment. So when Will signs in, right now I see a check right here. So that would remind him as he signs in that he's already listened to American Sports Lessons. He hasn't read it on his own yet, nor has he taken the quiz, but he has listened to it. So once a student listens to or reads the book, you'll then see this little question mark highlighted, which means they are then able to take the quiz. If you see over here, he hasn't read these books yet, so he is unable to take those quizzes. So again, this is a way the website monitors students, that they have to go through the book first before they can take the quiz, rather than just randomly guessing questions on the quiz, getting them right, and then earning stars without doing any work. So if I want, I can scroll down here, and I'm going to choose to listen to a book on hurricanes.
Hurricanes, written by Sean Taylor.
So if you notice, this is the listening part, so I'm listening to this book. A lot of times I just have my students bring in their headphones, and they know they can go to a quiet place in the classroom and listen to the story, should they choose to listen to it. I really like how the website highlights the phrase that is being read or about to be read, and then the word, the specific word that is being read, is highlighted in green. I also like that you can pause it. I know some students like to listen to it first and then reread it on their own. When I'm ready to go to the next page, I can click Next.
A hurricane is coming. This just in from the National Hurricane Center in Miami. A hurricane watch is in effect for the Florida East Coast, from Florida City north to Flagler Beach.
So as you can see, I can have this whole entire story read to me. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to skip ahead. I apologize for the voiceover. And then here at the end would be my glossary. Like I said, that your students can go through and look for. As you notice that there are the graphics on the page as well as various text features are very helpful for students to look at, especially if they're listening to a story. They can look at the text features that are included in the story as they're reading. So if we go back, here's a diagram of how the radar, how a storm is headed from land or toward land, and what is happening with the energy waves from the radar station. So once I listen to the whole book, I can then choose to go back like I just did and read previous pages. I can read it again, or I can take the quiz. So again, you cannot take the quiz until you've read the whole book. And as you can see, as the question is asked and there are 4 answer choices, the students can go back in the book and look back in the book to help them answer the question. So if I found the answer to the question on this page, I can then return to the quiz and answer the question. And once I'm done all 10 questions, it would then tell me my score. So if I go back to my assignment page, I can see that, wow, I've earned 10 stars just for listening to the book. And then there is a check now that I've now listened to that book. So now Will is up to 30 stars and slightly closer to reaching his goal of getting to the level X. So again, there are many stories that I can read from in order to practice at my level W. Now if I go home, one feature of this website that I really like, that my students have found really helpful, is the book room. Now you as a teacher, when you're setting up your students' accounts, you do not have to have students, allow students to have access to the book room. What the book room is it gives students the opportunity to read any story on any level on the website. So while I found this very helpful because I know that my students love to go home and they can do this at home and they can go back and read from an earlier level. I know some of my students like to show this website to their younger siblings and that they can read stories with their younger siblings at a different level. I also know that some students like to go back one level and read through some stories, or like to go ahead one level and read through some stories. I know some teachers don't like this, as it then allows students to be able to go to the next level. Maybe that would be a level that would be too hard for them independently to read at, and students may try and get to that next level because they want to see if they can explore those books and understand that text. And I know sometimes that's can be frustrating if students are reading above their instructional level because you know they're not able to comprehend at that level. So again, the website allows teachers to choose if you would like to have your students access the book room or not. And then the last part would be the robot builder, and this is something fun for students to do once they earn a certain amount of stars. This is just a fun little thing they can do with their stars. So again, I know that I only have 30 stars right now as a student. I need to get a lot more stars in order to be able to buy some of these things. So that may give your students some incentive to continue to read through the book. So again, usually I only allow them to spend 2 or 3 minutes on this part, but they love at the end of the class to then see what they can use their spendable stars that they earned to do something fun with them. Same thing here for Raz-Rocket. It's again more of an incentive. If I want to click here, obviously you can see that Will's room is very empty. So the more stars he earns, he could buy one of these little creatures. So again, it tells me I need to earn some more stars, so I better get back to reading so that I can buy some of these cute little aliens to decorate my Raz-Rocket with, the inside of my rocket. So there's your tutorial on what a student's view of Raz-Kids would look like. Like I said, I mostly have found this website helpful for reading A to Z, for printing out books for my guided reading lessons. But last year in 4th grade, my students especially love going on Raz-Kids. I know that so often students are reading on their own. They certainly love to have the opportunity to have a book read to them. And they liked being able to choose different books, because in guided reading I select the text that we're going to be using. And I know my students really enjoyed being able to choose their own book to read and work towards their goal. They really enjoyed this visual up here of working towards their goal. So I hope you enjoyed hearing about Raz-Kids and reading A to Z. Like I said, if we go head back to that website, the original website of reading A to Z. I'm going to log out so you can see what it would look like if you were not logged in. That I can sign up for a free trial. You can come in here and learn a little bit more about testimonials or the different websites. You can see what the free samples would look like. Again, if you see that this is something that may interest you, you can start your free trial now. Or if you're ready to order it, you could see the cost, what it would cost for your students to have access to this website for a classroom. And like I said, keep in mind that one classroom gives you 36 student licenses. So it's enough for 36 students. So you can share with another teacher if you don't have 36 kids in your classroom. So again, that would be the Learning A to Z website. I hope you enjoyed this software review, and I hope that you found some interest in this website, especially if you are a reading teacher. And I hope that you take some time to explore LearningA-Z.com. There's a lot to offer, and like I said, I've gotten a lot of use out of it, and I know my students have really benefited from the reading A to Z books, as well as having the Raz-Kids online. So feel free to browse around the website, and I hope you enjoyed this software review and found it helpful. Thanks for listening.